Kukhona enye into senayikhohlwa. Kunombutho lokuthiwa i-DA. I-DA ingane ye-National Party. Senikhohliwe. Ngoba ngiyangibona abantu abamnyama sebeyijoyina nje. Ile party yayisicindezele. Ngidabuke ngibona izingane sesikhuluma isingisi esikhulu lapha. DA will do XYZ. Hayi. Mazolo lokhu bese sikhala ngabantu abasebenza ukuthi sizinkawu. Racism. Ucabanga ukuthi labo bantu uma uthi umholi wabo bakuthatha serious. Withoyisi nje basebenza ngawo ispanel. Bahambe bevula ngawo. Nawe usukhoshile uthi umholi. Maye babo. Kulele kunye ukuba kubili ngabe kuyavusana.
I haven't lamented the fact that Helen Zille doesn't care. It's not only Helen Zille, it's well, a lot of well-to-do people. So let me explain this. When you are rich, in fact, I'd rather use this example. I'm gonna show you an EFF guy who talks about this. Listen.
And now, it is not surprising to see white people being unhappy about the call that has been made.
Okay.
And also, having this call being made by the EFF itself. White people do not love the EFF because the EFF is calling for equality to say that if we're having this class, let us drink, all of us.
Yes.
White people are saying we cannot share with black people. This class must be for us. And then organize a dirty one for black people.
Oh. You see what he meant. So the only thing that makes white people in South Africa angry is the fact that Africans are not even demanding a lot. They're demanding that let us share equally. Let us, this little thing that you have, that you think it's yours and you don't want to share it with other people. That's what makes white people very angry. That's what makes them very angry. To demand to share in the wealth of Africa. That's what makes them very angry. But by the way, Helen Zille. Now listen to Helen Zille.
How much would the Democratic Alliance pay the lowest paid worker a month?
The Democratic Alliance does not pay workers.
No.
Businesses pay workers.
Sure, we currently have a minimum wage, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look up the figure now, just forgot it now, but just over 3.7, if I'm not mistaken. So that is the minimum wage per month. What would the Democratic Alliance say that this is an okay amount to pay somebody that is below 3.7?
I would never ever pay anybody 3.7. I think it's far too low. And I never have.
Why do away with the minimum wage?
Because that's my choice and that's a market choice.
Yeah.
The point is you must...
Listen,
Aldrin, don't ask me. Ask people who are unemployed what they're prepared to work for. If they're not prepared to work for what's on offer, they don't have to. But the point is, you let the market regulate that, not me. It's got nothing to do with Helen Zille. When I employ people, as I have in the past, look at what I've paid them. And look at my... That's between me and the person. Do they want the job?
Is that an approach of a government?
Yes.
That you decide whatever you want to pay your workers, and if the worker is willing to accept 500 Rand a month, that's okay. Is that it?
Let me tell you what is okay. What is okay is to allow the market to find the level and to enable people to get into work. Don't ask me, don't ask the theoreticians, ask the people who are unemployed and desperate for work. Ask them. Let them tell you if they're prepared to work for X and Y. If they're not, then they won't take it. And the wages will go up to attract workers.
So according to Helen, things like competition commission, regulatory boards, I mean, a lot of things like regulators and everything that sets standard of what any industry must conform to. All of those things are useless because to her, people who negotiate for jobs and people who need a minimum wage to start a job. Those people are not white. That's why she doesn't care. According to her, industry or the employer can determine how much they pay you. You know, you might think this means nothing because you are sitting in a comfortable space. You are talking about an educated person who has his degree, who can go and negotiate. We're talking about industries that make a killing. Can you imagine if you say farmers must determine what they must pay? They will always, without doubt, underpay anyone because our poor people just want to eat, to an extent that they can even pay people with cabbages. I'm being honest with you, and it has happened. I just don't have the energy to go and prove it to you that they could even pay them with beer and food, because this is what it means. So Helen Zille, all of those things, she sees no problem. And I continue to ask African people, what is so impressive about Helen Zille that you would want to take a vote and give her? Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying what has ANC done, what has African people done. I'm talking about, that's obvious. ANC has failed a lot and it has driven people, but I'm asking you, what is it, as an African person, what is it about Helen Zille that has impressed you so much that you would think the gains of apartheid are easier protected when choosing Helen Zille in any administrative position? Helen Zille and John Steenhuisen. This baffles me, but I hope one day I'll understand. But so far, there's nothing that convinces me that Helen Zille should be given a vote, especially by African people. There are lots of examples of why Helen Zille still believes a white person is superior than a black person, not by any other measure besides that they are born with a pigmentation that differs. Prove me wrong. Thank you very much. Let's continue to learn. Mashiane politically incorrect. Thank you.
Racist. What Steenhuisen just said is racist, plain and simple. He said, Lesotho took your tax money to buy ill-fitting pep store uniforms for untrained cadres. What kind of person pulls a drunkard out of a shebeen, gives them a uniform and a weapon, and unleashes them onto a community? He never would have said a shebeen if he was talking about a group of white people. There is no evidence that Lesotho hired drunkards out of shebeens. There is no evidence that Lesotho bought pep uniforms for them. Pep store caters for less wealthy South Africans who are broadly people of color. So at the very least, Steenhuisen, by saying pep stores, was saying something deeply classist, just offensive towards poor people, but also because they're mostly black people, was definitely racially stereotyping. Brazen stereotyping of a group of people based on their race.